Hello there. Welcome in to this Thursday edition of the show. I am so glad that you have decided to join me, whether it's on your radio, online at extrasports1300.com, or you've chosen to do your listening through the new and improved Extra Sports 1300 app, sponsored by Diversus Health, mental health and well-being for all. A veritable cornucopia of sports topics coming your way over the course of this program, and I would love to get your take on them. The text and the phone line are the same for your convenience. 719 247 1313. So, last night was one of the very few nights where I went to bed at a, quote, decent hour. I'm a bit of a night owl. Well, that's kind of the way I operate. And last night, I went to bed a little bit earlier than I normally do, so I missed all the fun. All the breaking news overnight that the Pac-12 has poached Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State. And can we, just as an aside, I don't care what they're called, like officially as a school, they are Fresno State. Can we not with the California State University, Fresno? Are you trying to make it sound better? Like you poached, we got Cal State. No, you got Fresno State. Okay, so chill with the California State University Fresno stuff. Anyway, so the Pac-12 gets those schools to join them in a couple of years. And this is it feels like the Mountain West gave the Pac-12 a little bit, or the Pac-2, a little bit of a lifeline. Said, we'll help you with your schedule. And by doing that, they may have let the wolf into the hen house a little bit. And now there will be no scheduling arrangement after this season. And in 2 years, the Pac-2 will become the Six Pac. And what is to come for the Mountain West. This was always going to be what it was. Like, the Mountain West is not so naive to think that allowing Oregon State and Washington State, especially after they won their lawsuit to keep all of this money that's coming into the Pac-12 over the next few years because of the NCAA tournament and because of the college football playoff, all TV, all that kind of stuff. Mount West, I refuse to believe, was so naive to think that there was no chance that the Pac-12 would try to secretly poach some of their teams, whether there was the scheduling arrangement for football or not. That was always going to be a possibility. So the Mountain West is not naive. I don't believe for a second they were caught off guard by this. And certainly once they weren't able to extend their scheduling partnership agreement, if the Mountain West didn't have a good idea by then, certainly after that, they had to know, all right, they feel like they don't need us. The Pac-12 commissioner, who is Teresa Gould, by the way, it's not what's his face? Anyway, Teresa Gould is the new Pac-12 commissioner. And she said today, for over a century, the Pac-12 conference has been recognized as a leading brand in intercollegiate athletics. We will continue to pursue bold, cutting-edge opportunities for growth and progress to best serve our member institutions and student athletes. And then she goes on to thank the schools, calls Fresno State, Cal State University, Fresno, which is my new biggest pet peeve in all of sports, and said an exciting new era for the Pac-12 conference begins today. Mount West Commissioner Gloria Nevarez said in her own statement, the Mount West Conference is aware of media reports regarding the potential departure of several of our members. Media reports, potential departure. Important to note those. And we will have more to say in the days ahead. All members will be held to the conference bylaws and policies should they elect to depart. The requirements of the scheduling agreement will apply to the Pac-12 should they admit Mountain West members. Our board of directors is meeting to determine our next steps. The Mountain West has a proud 25-year history and will continue to thrive in the years ahead. So, this is not over. And that should be the most obvious thing out of all of this, is that until those four schools actually play under the Pac-12 banner in 2 years, until that day, a lot can change. Here's my read on all of this. You have two entities that understand what the end game is. The end game for the Mountain West and the Pac-12 is they have to merge. They have to merge, and the scheduling agreement was a precursor to that. And my guess is we have ourselves a good old power struggle. We have the Mount West telling the Pac-2, you need us, and the Pac-2 saying, we don't need you. We have all this money now. We get to keep it all, and we can spend it on these exit fees. Right now, you have two conferences that are fighting basically for who's in charge of the new conference. That's what this is about. What's the conference going to be called? Who's the commissioner? Like all these little things. It's a mini power struggle, but they both have to understand that their best shot at survival is to merge. Strength in numbers, because you know the big boys are going to be fishing again. The idea that the Mountain West is going to exist and they have to get to 8 teams, and the Pac-12 has to get to 8 teams. These two conferences are not going to exist as separate 8-team conferences. Or I would seriously question the leadership of those two conferences. It makes no sense to have a Pac-12 and a Mountain West. Now, I'm not saying every Mountain West school is going to inevitably be in the Pac-12. I'm looking at you, Hawaii. But the idea that the Pac-12 is just going to be cool existing as an 8-team league and get back their autonomous 5 status, negotiate a good television deal, they're going to end up merging. Right? Anybody could see that. I'm not crazy here. They're going to end up together. It's just a matter of who's running it. Under whose banner are they making this new conference? Because I mapped this out. Like, look. Air Force, Nevada, UNLV, Wyoming, Utah State, and San Jose State with Hawaii as a football member. That's not a good conference. Okay, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7. Who are they going to get to be the 8th team? So say they get Rice, just for fun. Let's say they get Rice. Air Force, Nevada, UNLV, Wyoming, Utah State, San Jose State, Hawaii, and Rice. If you're ESPN, if you're NBC, are you like, here, take all of our money? We're going to get the in-state rivalry between Nevada and UNLV. My goodness, move over, Coach Prime. Watch us shatter all of these viewership records. But also at the same time, look at the Pac-12. Washington State, Oregon State, Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State. Is that a better conference than the Mountain West? Yes. Right? And that's what, again, this is about the power struggle. We have San Diego State. We have Boise State. We have your most valuable members. Join us. You cannot survive without these. But that conference with 8 teams, let's say they add even Cal Stanford, which, by the way, I don't care what the geography says. Cal and Stanford are not going back to the Pac-12 when they are in a power conference right now. Okay, but let's just say Cal Stanford go back because now they can fill out their schedule and all that kind of stuff. Is that a great conference? Is that 8-team conference? You think that's going to fetch a massive television deal? You need both together. Both together. And both together isn't securing their future for the next 30 years, okay? We know the college sports landscape is controlled by the Big Ten and the SEC. And with the snap of a finger, they can lay waste to every other conference in America by simply cutting off their access to the college football playoff or creating their own, basketball tournament. Like, they hold all the cards. But the best chance for the Pac-12 or the Mountain West to secure as much of a future as they can, it's together. It's not apart. So this, to me, is a power struggle. This is the Pac-2 saying, we don't need you. We'll just poach your team. And there will have to be some coming together over the next couple of years to decide what they're going to do, because I think both conferences would be terribly mistaken if they think they can go it alone. But right now, Teresa Gould and the Pac-12 have the upper hand because they have taken the most valuable members of the Mountain West. So they have the upper hand. Now we'll see how the Mountain West counters in the next few days, but let's progress past some of these other menial steps. These two conferences are going to merge, or they will be in really big trouble. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts. CSU finally got what they wanted, I suppose. They're finally invited to join a major conference. Take your thoughts as we move through the program. Brent Brigham is scheduled to stop by later on in the show. You know, he was up front and maybe not. He's got a lot of stuff going on today. It's fine. So much to discuss. 719-24-7, 1313. Drive Time Sports just getting going on this Thursday here on Extra Sports 1300. It is a football Thursday. Miami and Buffalo tonight, and that means it's time to report for game day at Hooters of Colorado Springs. Hooters of Colorado Springs has craveable wings, ice cold beer, plenty of big screen TVs, and the world famous Hooters girls, making it the number one franchise in the league. Tonight, grab a Big Daddy of Bud Light or Michelob Ultra for $5.19 at Hooters of Colorado Springs. Tonight. Speaking of, this is going to be a great way to kick off week 2, isn't it? Buffalo and Miami. Great game. Great. Very much looking forward to it. Talk more about that game coming up. Couple of text messages here from the 719. So much of the merger is about the battle for commissioner and other positions within the conferences. People are fighting over their jobs right now. Pac-12 definitely holds the power over the Mountain West. That's what we're seeing. It's what we're seeing right now. It's there's another word for it that's not quite as couth. We'll just call it a power struggle. But to me, the outcome is obvious. Because the Pac-12 and the Mountain West split. Okay, let's say no one else leaves. Each conference has got to get some teams. They're fighting over scraps. With all due respect, they're fighting over scraps. Rice, Tulane, South Florida, like Memphis, New Mexico State, like I think it's inevitable that the Pac-12 is going to circle back around and they're going to make a pitch to Air Force and UNLV and try to get them to join if they don't settle this thing and just do the full-blown merger. There's just not much left. There really isn't. I think the best option for both is to become one. And then decide if you need to go and poach. Because it's just, what's that joke about being chased by a bear? Like, you don't have to be the fastest person. You just got to be the faster than the slowest person. It's kind of that going on with college football right now. This conference doesn't have to make themselves better than the ACC. Not at this juncture. They just got to be better than the American or better than the Sun Belt. Split apart, I don't know that they are. Together, they would be. But there's a lot of money at stake. So, when that happens, people get a little chesty and start jockeying for power. But that's where this is heading. We'll talk more about this coming up in a little bit. Today was coordinator day with the Denver Broncos, which normally, to be fair, is not a great day. You'd rather hear from Sean Payton. But given the way that the defense played on Sunday against Seattle, I was actually quite looking forward to what Vance Joseph's take on all of it was. Here's his opinion on that third quarter where it all seemed to turn for the Broncos defense that was playing at a historic level with multiple safeties in the first half. Here's Vance on that third quarter. I appreciate Vance Joseph being critical, looking at his defense with a critical eye, having high expectations. And all the credit in the world to Seattle and Kenneth Walker and all that kind of stuff. The defense wore themselves out. They wore themselves out on Sunday. They were flying around to start that game, and it was a terrific start. And then what happened? The offense. What always happens with the Denver Broncos? Okay, Sean Payton, Bo Nix, doesn't matter. It's an extension of what Broncos football has been for years. Right? It's very difficult to maintain that level of play in a league that does everything they can to favor the offense. It's very difficult to keep up the pace at which the Broncos defense was playing with on Sunday when the offense goes 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So I credit Vance Joseph, for having high standards and things like that. You got to look at the other side of the football. And that's what it's been for 2 years. Why did the Broncos win football games last year? Why did they get on their winning streak? Their defense. Their defense. Vance Joseph would never do it, but I feel like it would be well within his right to kind of go, yeah, we did our part on Sunday. Why don't you talk to the other guy? I thought the defense played as well as you could possibly expect. And in the first 2 quarters, they played even better than you could have expected. Everything about that loss Sunday is on the offense. I put hardly any of it on the defense. They were hung out to dry, as the Broncos defense has been hung out to dry in so many games over the last few years for this franchise. There were some questions about this defense, though, coming in to the season, most notably opposite Pat Surtain. What was it going to look like? Riley Moss won that job. And here's his coordinator's take on Riley Moss against the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, and then there was the play at the end of the game where he just missed it, or else that would have given the offense a chance to go down the field and tie or win that football game. Defense was the most promising thing. The offense, you're like, okay, Bo Nix going to fix some of that stuff. Is the running game going to get going? Can Bo Nix rely on any of these wide receivers? All the questions for me going into the Steelers game are about the Broncos offense, because I think the defense showed that they can hold their own. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect game by any stretch, and I understand why people would look at Pittsburgh and go, well, if Kenneth Walker did that in the third quarter and then Geno Smith had the big run in the first half, like that's kind of what Pittsburgh wants to do, right? So I understand that some of the things that the Broncos defense led up on specifically run defense, would make you a little worried about how they would go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. One thing's for sure, though, Vance Joseph knows exactly what Mike Tomlin and company want to do. Rock'em sock'em. I gotta tell you, the Vance Joseph's description of Sunday's game doesn't sound like a game that I would enjoy watching. But he's not wrong. And the game plan from the Steelers is pretty simple. And it's why they never seem to have a losing season. But it's also why over the last few years, nobody would take the Steelers seriously as a Super Bowl contender. There's no dynamism to this offense. But the way their offense is, they will run the ball well enough. They'll take care of the football enough. They will out-tough you enough that they'll win their fair share of games. And with the defense that is as good as the one led by TJ Watt, it creates a high floor and a low ceiling. You know what you're going to get from Pittsburgh, and you know what the game plan is with Justin Fields. Don't turn it over. They'll be very careful with where they're asking Justin Fields to throw the ball, and they will be telling him, do not be afraid to use your legs. Can the Broncos stop it enough? I would think they would. I would think they'd be able to get enough stops where you're like, okay, it's on the offense. That's the question. I think the Broncos defense is going to come up with enough stops on Sunday to win that football game. Can the offense score enough points against that Steelers defense? That's what I'm not so sure about. Take your thoughts. 719-247-1313. More Drive Time Sports after this. Multi-platinum progressive rock group Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Colorado Springs with its winter tour, The Lost Christmas Eve, for 2 spectacular shows on November 17th at the Broadmoor World Arena. Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. BroadmoorWorldArena.com would be the straightest path to get those. AXS, if you have an account with AXS, you do it there. But just know that 10 a.m. tomorrow, tickets go on sale for the 2 shows that Trans-Siberian Orchestra is having here in Colorado Springs in just a couple of months' time. Back to the text line on the news of the day, which is the Pac-12 poaching CSU, Fresno, Boise, San Diego State from the Mount West. And those schools are scheduled to join here in a couple of years. Albert says the Pac-12 has name recognition, historical significance, money, and the best teams. Goodbye, Mount West. You lost your leverage. Sorry, Hawaii, New Mexico, and probably a few others. Yeah, I thought all along they were going to eventually be under the Pac-12 banner. Now, anyone can tell that the Pac-12 is not what the Pac-12 was. Right? So there, you can call it the Pac-12 all you want. It's not the Pac-12. Okay, but if that gets you a little bit more money, if that gets you a little more recognition, brand awareness, whatever, that's fine. But this conference is not the Pac-12. It's not. But it is a brand that people are more familiar with. It's a brand that probably gets them an extra zero on the end of a check for something. I don't know, television deal, sponsorship with, an insurance company, whatever it might be. But you can do all you can bring back Cal and Stanford, and it's still not the Pac-12. The Pac-12 died when USC and UCLA went to the Big Ten, when Oregon and Washington followed suit. Oregon State and Washington State were never synonymous with the Pac-12. I know they were in the Pac-12. So they can do this jockeying for position, and I think all along they were going to be called the Pac-12. But what leverage the Pac-12 actually has is money. And you saw this, I talked about this when San Diego State flirted with leaving. All that happened was they found out that the exit fee was too much. So what had to happen? The Pac-2 had to win out in this lawsuit to keep all of these tournament shares and all of this money that was going to be paid out to the Pac-2. They did that. San Diego State's exit fee will decrease in the next couple of years, and boom. Pac-2 has money. Exit fee is less than it would have been. And there it goes. This is about, I don't even think it's about branding. I think it's about, we had a texter earlier, leadership. Who's running this thing? Whose people are in charge? I think that's what this ultimately is about. and it will get settled. There is a very Darwinian aspect right now to college athletics. If the Pac-12 or the Six Pac, or call it whatever the hell you want, and the Mountain West, if they don't figure out how they need each other, then nature will take its course. That's what's going on in college athletics. If you can't get your stuff together, then natural selection will take over and you will be done and you'll all be out of jobs and you'll all be left out of the new landscape of college athletics. So they can jockey for position, they can puff out their chest, they can do whatever they want, but they're going to end up together because that's their only chance. But yes, certainly for the teams that remain in the Mount West, they have more of an incentive because they are on paper the weaker conference compared to what the Pac-12 is or is supposed to be in 2 years. 719-24-7, 1313. Aaron says the Broncos offense has been offense as the Broncos offense has ranged from bad to horrible for 10 years. I'm tired of watching a team leaning on good defense but scoring 16 to 20 points. I wouldn't mind the Broncos losing some games 35-40 because at least it's exciting. I bet the Broncos have an NFL record for 3-and-outs in a 10-year span. That would actually be a fascinating thing to try and find out, and maybe I will try. I'm going to effort this during the break. And I think Aaron hits the nail on the head when it comes to the sentiment after the Seattle game. We've been watching this for years. When is it going to be different? Right? As much as I want to criticize, and as many people are criticizing Colorado because it doesn't look like they're any different than last year, at least last year's version of the Buffs is very different than what they were a year before. Sean Payton's Broncos for the last 18 games have been almost identical to the Broncos under Vic Fangio and Vance Joseph. The only thing that's changed are vibes. That's it. Now, this is, and I feel like I'm talking about the Broncos, but I feel like this is exactly what I said about CU going into the Nebraska game. At some point, they're going to have to look different. At some point, the Denver Broncos organization, Sean Payton, Bo Nix, are going to have to actually show people that it's different. And they have yet to do that. I don't know that this Sunday is going to be the get right game for them. I don't know that it's going to be, but that could be as much about how good the Steelers defense is as how bad the Broncos offense is. Right? Maybe the Broncos are making strides, are going to make some strides in this game, but you're dealing with TJ Watt, you're dealing with Highsmith, you're dealing with, you may not see a lot of progress. But I think, Aaron, you cut right to the core of it, the frustration of Sunday. I think reasonable people understand that at some point, Bo Nix is going to be better than he was on Sunday, that this team will score more points, But it's every week that goes by where they don't, you're saying, all right, where is it? I know everyone wanted to run Vance Joseph out of town after 70-20. And look, 70-20 is, yeah, I can understand why people had that visceral reaction. And remember, Sean Payton, like at times would just look like he was giving Vance Joseph the death stare. And it's like, really, who should be calling out the other one? Who should be giving the death stare to the other one? When is Sean Payton's offense going to look the way it's supposed to? Because I've seen a lot of good from the Broncos defense under Vance Joseph. I have seen very little good out of the Sean Payton offense. And that's what's supposed to be the biggest difference. I do still think that there will come a time this season where it will look better and you'll go, oh, here it is. Unfortunately, it might be too late. I don't think it's this Sunday. I don't think it's against the Jets defense. I don't think it's against Tampa. And by then you're kind of in a situation where it's too late if you're still holding out hope that the Denver Broncos are going to be a factor in the playoff race. Right? That's why Sean Payton talked about the first quarter poll and how important it is. Well, they're already one down. And I think given what you saw Sunday across the NFL, you have to feel less confident in the Broncos' ability to win any of these next three games, whether it's Pittsburgh, whether it's the Bucs, or whether it's the Jets. Doesn't mean they can't. Just means you haven't been given a lot of reason to believe it will be better. 719-24-7. 1313. Steve G says playing a rookie QB all you want is to see improvement from week to week, but the rest of the team, including coaches, must play at the top of their game. He needs all the help he can get. Yeah, and it gets back to the question I've been asking for the last few weeks. Bo Nix has proven he's ready for this, being a starter in the NFL. Is this organization, is this coaching staff, is this offensive line, are these running backs, are these wide receivers ready to help out a rookie quarterback? Through 1 week, doesn't look like it. But that's why they play 17, soon to be 18. One day will be 20, 22 of them. 719-24-7-1313. Speaking of this Sunday, Pittsburgh visiting Denver. Because of the quarterback news, I've been keeping an eye on the line for this one just to see. It is at Circa Sports Colorado, sitting at still Broncos +2 or Denver +2.5. If you like Denver's chances on Sunday, you could get them straight up at $1.24 on the Circa Sports Colorado app. Other sports books, they'll get you in with these fancy free bet offers, and that's all well and good. But slowly but surely, they'll recoup what they are giving you in free bets because of their higher holds. Circa Sports Colorado strives to have the lowest holds of any sports book. And their odds are their promos. They essentially want you to have the best experience that you can possibly have from a sports betting app. They've thought a lot about this. They put a lot of work into it. The same people that are at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas are behind the app. That same mentality, the best experience possible. And they invite you to shop around for this Sunday, for tonight, for maybe some futures bets that you're looking to make. They encourage you to shop around. And they're confident that you'll notice that consistently they have the best odds, the lowest holds, and the tightest money line splits. Download the Circa Sports Colorado app today, where it is better for the better. Must be 21 years or older and present in Colorado to bet. If you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome in Drive Time Sports on this Thursday. Ryan Kaufman with you. Week 2 kicks off tonight with Buffalo and Miami. You can hear it right here on Extra Sports 1300. And if you want a place to watch it, Hooters of Colorado Springs offering the fan filler tonight, 10 boneless wings, fries, a dressing, and a drink for only $16.59. Get into Hooters of Colorado Springs for all the football action. A reminder, you can watch the show live on a daily basis. Granted, you follow us on at least one social media platform, whether it be Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, at XTRA Sports 1300 would be the appropriate handle to use. The story we woke up to this morning is that the Pac-12 is thanking the Mount West for allowing Oregon State and Washington State to play this season essentially in their conference, but not really, play their conference teams, help them fill out their schedule, and to repay the Mount West, they have decided to poach 4 of their schools. Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, and Fresno State. CSU very excited about this. They put out a big statement today. They think this is going to be very good for them. And anytime I read a statement from a school, I can't even get through it, honestly, without me either hearing a cash register or 50 Cent song, I Get Money, or the old theme song for The Apprentice, like that's all I hear. There's no innovation. There's nothing that the Pac-12 is doing that's earth-shattering and just phenomenal that these schools have got to be a part of it. It's money. They have all these tournament shares and college football playoff, and they have the branding, and they have loyal sponsorships. That's all this is about. Spare me the last iteration of the Pac-12 was supposedly cutting edge. Right? They were going to be on Apple TV. That was going to be their new television deal. How did that all work out? This is about money. And right now it feels like the Pac-12, and it can probably be proven that the Pac-12 has more money than the Mountain West. I want to play you something because Air Force was not one of the schools that jumped ship this morning. And you kind of wonder, like, hey, Air Force is in the weaker of the two conferences on paper. Aren't they a little bit worried? Well, here's Troy Calhoun this morning on Colorado Springs Morning News with my friend and colleague Jim Arthur, asked his thoughts about the news of the day.
Going to be a lot that shakes out. I mean, that's still 24 months away. You're looking at September of 2026. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And certainly we'll be in a good spot no matter where it is. And who knows? I mean, it's it's the life of college athletics right now.
We'll be in a good spot no matter what. Is that what Troy Calhoun said? Let me hear that one more time.
There's going to be a lot that shakes out. I mean, that's still 24 months away. You're looking at September of 2026. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And certainly we'll be in a good spot no matter where it is. And
No, we'll be in a good spot no matter where it is. If they're in this sport that is, because let's call it for what it is. We're talking about college football here. Maybe to a certain extent college basketball, but it's mostly football that we're talking about here. Does Air Force, I understand the budget. Like I understand how much it costs to go, clear across the country. But I look at the hockey team and what conference they play in. They don't play in the NCHC, which geographically would make the most sense. They play in Atlantic hockey. They're playing in Niagara Falls, and they're playing in Buffalo, and they're playing in Erie, Pennsylvania on a weekly basis. Well, football is a weekly sport. I don't think that Air Force is overly eager to jump ship because they might look at this and say, here's our opportunity to kind of see what else is out there. Do we want to be with Boise and CSU and San Diego State and Fresno State? Maybe San Diego. Given what you know about Air Force, when in a conference where they would regularly play in the states of, I don't know, Texas, Florida, wouldn't that be kind of more appealing? I mean, how often do they find a reason to go down to Texas? Neither one of these conferences, the Pac-12 or the Mountain West, give them that opportunity to go down to a very important state for recruiting, but also an important state in terms of reaching their fan base. If hockey for years can keep going to the East Coast, what's preventing the football team from doing the same thing? I mean, really, what's preventing them? I haven't seen the books. I would imagine the football team is the highest grossing sports team on campus. So if hockey can afford to go east, certainly football could. And you also get the benefit of, and let's just be real here, CSU, San Diego State, these schools look a bit greedy today, do they not? Because we know it's about money. It's not about innovation. It's not about any of the stuff that any of these schools said in there. It's about money. And I'm sure that also they were sold a bill of goods that the Pac-2 is going to be able to keep its autonomous 5 status, which is complete nonsense. There is zero chance that they are going to keep that, because now that's one less spot that the SEC and the Big Ten have to give. And that's why I say the best chance for these schools to have access to the college football playoff, to be considered the best of the group of 5 or a power conference, is for the Mountain West and the Pac-12 to combine together. And still, I don't even think that's enough. But again, from Air Force's perspective, if college football knows no borders, 2 of your service academy rivals play in the same conference. You could join that conference. Now, there would have to be some worked out because you couldn't rotate those because Air Force, Army, and Navy would have to play each other every year. But guess what? Army and Navy do. So concessions can be made. Deals can be worked out. Wouldn't it be appealing for Air Force to compete head-to-head with Army and Navy in the same conference? Would it be interesting to them? Would it be something of value to be able to play in the Gulf Coast region in Texas? Given the demographics, given I know there are Air Force bases all over the place, but I think Air Force could look at this and say, you know what? Maybe we don't even want to be a part of either conference. But we're not going to, jump ship immediately and make this move hastily. And that's what you're hearing from Troy Calhoun. Like, a lot can happen. So Air Force doesn't strike me as the knee-jerk reaction type. So they sit there and they weigh the pros and the cons. And they may decide ultimately that, you know what, if these two conferences are ultimately going to merge, then that's a good place for us to be. Or they could, quietly put the for sale sign up and see what the AAC and the Sun Belt. And dare I say the Big 12, what they might be interested in doing. I certainly don't think that the Pac-12 needed Air Force to make this move today, to send the shot across the bow. That was Boise and that was San Diego State. But I think from Air Force, I don't know what Air Force gains by being one of those teams today. 719-247-1313. Where would you like to see Air Force end up? Would you be interested in that? And I know some of the pushback is fan travel, right? You like going to Laramie. You like going to Fort Collins. You like going to Vegas. You like going to Albuquerque. Well, you like the proximity of going to Albuquerque. I'm not saying there's a perfect answer. But Air Force has time now, right, to evaluate everything and weigh what is best. And Nate Pine has been a forward-thinking athletic director since the moment he showed up on campus. And I think they're going to evaluate all of this. The teams travel, fans travel, where their donor base is. What does Big Air Force think of all of this? They have a new superintendent, may not be as athletically inclined, and I don't mean from a skill set. I mean, obviously, General Clark, big sports guy, now heads up the college football playoff. The new superintendent doesn't really have that sports background. Does that mean he won't have any say? Or will the budget come more into play? I don't know. But at the very least, I think Air Force could really look at where they're at and go, maybe we want to look east instead of west for where we're going to play college football moving forward? Where would you like to see him end up? 719-247-1313. Coming up next, is Sunday already a must-win for the Denver Broncos? Join us at Widener Field this Saturday night as Switchbacks FC hosts the league's leading goal scorer Nick Markanich and Charleston Battery for Noche Latina at 5 p.m. Get your tickets for this match and the remaining 2 home matches after Saturday at switchbacksfc.com. Switchbacks making a run right now. They are one of the hottest teams in the USL Championship. 3 straight victories, walloping teams en route to a 3-match winning streak. Saturday should be a lot of fun. Love to see you out there. In fact, I have 4 tickets. How about I give those away? Be the 13th texter, because I don't need them. Not to, a humble brag, my admission into the stadium is already taken care of. Be the 13th texter to text switchbacks and your name to 719-247-1313, and you win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Switchbacks take on Charleston Battery Saturday night at Widener Field. Then on Sunday, the Denver Broncos take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it is quite fitting that we have the Bills and the Dolphins to start off week 2, because I think the prevailing storyline of week 2 is going to be who's already in a must-win. Who's already there? Because tonight we have, and Tua acknowledged this, right? The Miami Dolphins have found every which way to lose to the Buffalo Bills. Right? Last year, Miami had the division. It was theirs, and they coughed it up inevitably to the Buffalo Bills. And if we're going to take the Miami Dolphins seriously, they got to at least prove themselves to be the best team in the AFC East. They've at least got to do that. And yes, the Jets are around, and we'll see how the Jets look moving forward, but it's really about slaying that dragon if you're Miami. And this game's at home, but you don't have the ability to basically make Josh Allen pass out from heat stroke. Not to say it won't be a warm evening. Of course it will be, but it's not going to be as extreme as those early September games are typically in Miami. And this is a big game. And I think for Miami, they have to win it, but there's not that upside for them. It's like they're expected to win and they have to win. Right? Because no one is going to take Miami seriously if they lose tonight at home to Buffalo, to a depleted Buffalo Bills team. That all we heard about Buffalo was what they were giving up and hardly what they brought in. And Josh Allen is going to go into your building and beat you. Then it's like, forget it. Everybody's going to be out on Miami. But if Miami wins tonight, then it'll be like, well, of course. So it's not a great spot for Mike McDaniel's team to be in, but it's the spot they find themselves in. And then as week 2 rolls around, in earnest, on Sunday, there will be many teams that will have to view this game as a must-win, including the Denver Broncos. Going into last season, 131 teams from 2007 to 2022 started 0-2. Only 13 ended up making the postseason. $13 out of 131 teams that started 0-2 made the postseason from 2007 to 22. That's not a good percentage. Last year, There were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams that started 0-2. Bengals didn't make the playoffs. Carolina didn't make the playoffs. Houston did, famously. Minnesota did not. New England did not. Arizona didn't. Chicago didn't. The Chargers didn't. And look, the Denver Broncos also didn't. If you are somebody that believes that the Denver Broncos are at the very least going to win more, and I put this in quotes, win more than people think. What is that? 7 wins, 6 wins, 8 wins, 10 wins. You affix whatever number to it you want to. But if you are in the group of the Broncos are going to do more winning than people think they will. Well, here's the great example. Their over-under in Vegas was 5.5. Okay, so let's take, if you think that the Denver Broncos are capable of winning more than 6 games, they must win on Sunday. They have to. When I looked at a team that was a 6 or 7 win team, that was in winning Sunday. If they don't win Sunday, it's now it's 5 or 6. And then you look at some of the other stuff going on across the league. Maybe Jim Harbaugh does have the Chargers right. Maybe the Chiefs won't waltz to a division title. Maybe they'll need that final game against the Denver Broncos in order to win. Well, there's another one for the Broncos that goes out the window. Now we're down to 5. There weren't that many opportunities for victory on the schedule, and there will be fewer if they can't beat Pittsburgh. So if you're in that group, Sunday is a must-win. And if they don't win Sunday, then you can join the rest of us. Ryan's team of realists is what it's a working name for our group, but we're still trying to figure out what it is. But essentially, you will be able to join us in making the main thing for this 2024 Broncos season, and that is the progression of Bo Nix. Win, lose, or draw. How does Bo Nix look? And I'll say for Sunday, for that group, he got to look better. He's got to look better. Okay? If he looks the way he did against Seattle, not being able to throw the ball downfield in the middle of the field without a high risk of being intercepted, and only putting up, 1 touchdown late in the game when the game was already decided, that's not good. Bo Nix's whole identity is the old mistakes, doesn't make them twice. It's going to be difficult. Pittsburgh's a better defense than Seattle is, but you're at home. You've learned some things. My expectation for Sunday is Bo Nix looks better. And one other aspect of the Broncos that I think looks better, and it leads to Bo Nix looking better, the run game. The thing from the Broncos side that I am most confident in going into Sunday is that they will run the ball better. Enough to win the game? Can't get there. Enough to take some of the pressure off of Bo Nix? Yes. Better than they did last week? Yes. They'll shorten up the rotation. Audric Estime has been put on IR. So now it's just the two-headed monster of Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin, which, to be fair, was not any type of monster on Sunday in Seattle. But you shorten the rotation, go with those two guys. The offensive line has too much pride. I think they'll be able to run the football better, which will, by extension, make Bo Nix look better. Will it all amount to a win? I'm leaning no. Still understanding that I don't have to go on record with my prediction until tomorrow. But if you think that the Broncos are going to win more than people think they will, if you got a ticket that says the Broncos are going to win, hit the over. They need to win on Sunday. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts, expectations for Sunday's game. Coming up next, more on the news of the day that the Pac-12 has done a bit of poaching, but they did not poach Air Force. Was that a Pac-12 decision or an Air Force decision? I'll ask Brent Brigham, Air Force football beat writer for the Gazette, coming up next. And you thought we were going a season without talk of realignment in college football. You would be wrong. Today, the announcement from the Pac 12, as well as multiple schools, that 4 from the Mount West will be going over to the Pac 12 in a couple of years. One of them not Air Force. To help me sleuth things out, I welcome onto the program the Air Force beat writer for the Gazette. He is Brent Brigham. Brent, are you in Colorado or Texas, or should I not ask you where you are currently?
I am still in Colorado. I will be in Texas tomorrow morning.
All right. So, were you surprised by this news?
Yes, absolutely. I was. This just seemed like the Mountain West had all the leverage here, because Oregon State, Washington State really had no claim to anything other than the title of Pac-12, but that doesn't come with any kind of status as a Power 5 conference or anything else. Those teams were the ones needing someone to come to their rescue. So it really surprised me that 4 of the top teams in the Mountain West would bite at it and would make the leap, especially with no TV rights guaranteed, not even a full conference guaranteed at this point. I was very surprised this went down.
So why, I know you're not on the beat of those other schools, but why, as you've thought about it throughout the day, why would they bolt, given what you just said, which is all factually correct?
Part of it is that the Pac-12 has the money to foot the bill for their exit fees, which will be $17 million apiece. So even if, and who knows what kind of agreement they're entering into there, but surely it won't be with an exit fee quite as high. And all of these teams are teams that have power conference aspirations. So maybe they're playing chess and looking down the road and saying, well, why not, simplify our league now, join with Oregon State, Washington State, and the 4 of us, and then presumably 2 more quality programs, and take our chances with playing this streamlined schedule, and then down the road, either we earn Power 5 conference or status based on our play and TV rights and whatnot as a part of the Pac-12, or we're open to explore that somewhere else in a way that we wouldn't have been in the Mountain West. That could be the thinking. Could just short-sightedness, saying, being enamored by the name Pac-12 and the logo and everything else. And, and the knowledge that not everybody is going to get that this is not the real Pac-12. It doesn't have the weight of UCLA, USC, Washington, and all that behind, Oregon, all those programs behind it. This is just the Pac-12 in name only.
Brent Brigham of the Gazette, my guest. Do you think it is more likely that Air Force was not asked by the Pac-12 to bolt, or that that Air Force told the Pac-12 no?
It would be a guess. I think there's also the possibility that Air Force was asked to join as a football only, and to that, I really don't know. So all of those seem extremely plausible. I'll say that.
Could this? I was hypothesizing this earlier, and see if you're with me. If this is a strictly football decision, which most of this conference realignment has absolutely been about that, maybe a little bit about basketball, but could there an argument be made that the best spot for Air Force to be is not in a conference located in the Western United States, that may be looking to a conference, I don't know, that maybe their service academy rivals are in, that has more Texas schools in it? Do you think that Air Force is taking this as an opportunity to kind of go like, do we even want to be on the western part of the United States, or would we like to be more central or eastern?
Yes. I don't know that it would be Air Force saying, hey, where do we best fit, so much as Air Force sitting around and saying, okay, what opportunity is now going to present itself to us, and what makes the most sense? Because the one issue is the $17 million exit fee still sits there. So if the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, were to were to approach them, Air Force would at this point have to come up with that money. And maybe the AAC, particularly if it loses Memphis and UTSA or somebody else to the Pac-12, maybe they would be motivated to add someone, a national brand like Air Force, and find a way to help with that. And if so, then I think Air Force would be crazy not to listen to that. I just don't know that Air Force has $17 million sitting around to do this. I do think another possibility is the Mountain West is going to collect somewhere in the vicinity of $115 million from this transaction with the Pac-12 between the exit fees and some penalties based on the scheduling agreement. So that money could be used to then become the aggressor. And maybe a Memphis, UTSA, somebody in the state of Texas, who knows, maybe they can pay them to come be part of the Mountain West. And the Mountain West basically keeps going, doesn't skip a beat because it's in a position financially to leverage somebody to them and basically just replace what's been lost today. So there are a lot of possibilities. Or the Mountain West says, hey, let's just go at it with 8 teams. We keep this money, share the wealth, and reap the benefits of that, and see how we can parlay that into, improving ourselves. So many options right now on the table, but I don't think Air Force is in position to be left out to dry. I think they're either going to be in a Mountain West that figures that it's good at 8 or improves itself, or it goes to the AAC. I do think it's probably one of the more valuable properties remaining there in the Mountain West. So I think it's going to come out just fine.
Do you think do you think it would be better, forget the exit fee, would it be better for Air Force to be in a conference with Navy and Army, or to have them as non-conference opponents?
Tough to say. I mean, it would be football only because Navy and Army are not full-fledged members of the AAC. So they're only playing football there.
Right.
If they were full members and they were able to play those teams every year in basketball also, that would be a nice little nugget, because then you boost basketball attendance every time those teams come to town or when you go there.
Mm-hmm.
No. The one thing it would be very appealing, certainly as I look at it from the outside, if there was an 8-team conference, version of the Mountain West, Air Force would have 5 non-conference states to work with. 2 of those obviously would be Army Navy. 1 of those would be FCS team in the opener. So that would leave it 2 dates to play around with a little bit, where you could take a bye game. Like, they played Michigan State in the past. They've got home and home agreements now with Baylor and Arizona. Maybe they can be a little more flexible in that way to boost the schedule, be a little more creative and flexible with that. I think that would be appealing. I think you go to the AAC, it's such a large conference, you're probably still going to play an 8-team conference schedule. So your non-conference remains as is. There would be a ton of travel involved in the AAC,
mm-hmm.
Particularly for non-football sports. So they would have to figure out what they do there. If they're affiliate members the way Army Navy are, then where do the other sports fall? Because there's a lot of sports at Air Force. So there would be a lot to be figured out should they leave. I don't know if the Big West is just sitting there taking any comers, if they could join that, or if it would be, who knows what it would be. So it would be very complicated. So I don't know if it'd be better. It's certainly the next few days, these conferences are going to try to pull every stop they can to boost themselves, because there's basically 3 competitors right now for the title of top group of 5 conference. And I think it's anybody's game to win right now between the new Pac-12, the Mountain West, and the AAC.
Brent Brigham, my guest. I was a little bit surprised that the Mountain West didn't have more of a statement today in reaction to this, because while maybe it was surprising to some people, I can't imagine this is catching them completely off guard, and to have more than we'll have more in the next couple of days. It was just a little curious to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming right now their priority is not public comment, but
mm-hmm.
private negotiating. So I get that. Obviously, this is not the end of it. But no, I mean, they issued a statement in the middle of the night and haven't been heard from since, as far as I know. And that is a little surprising. But again, I think the focus is on probably what we'll hear tomorrow or the next day when they have something new to share beyond the fact that 4 teams are leaving.
Of course, there is a season going on right now, and Air Force will be playing against Baylor on Saturday. Did you see progress in any areas on the offensive side of the football for Air Force from game 1 to game 2?
I really didn't. I just no. I was just waiting for it to come, and it just never did. I mean, the offense only drove past the 50 one time when it didn't get the ball, already in the red zone. And so it's a tough situation right now. And granted, San Jose State is not a bad team, and it has a coach who obviously knew Air Force very well. But I've never really seen Air Force struggle that I can remember in the time I've covered them for 2 consecutive weeks to move the ball on the ground. And that's a pretty big red flag. I've also seen them have some struggles at times and quickly rebound and, put them in the rearview mirror. I just haven't seen anything yet to suggest that they're on that verge, but it can happen in an instant. So hope is not lost for this team, but I have not seen much of a sign yet to think that I'm seeing them going in that direction.
Is Baylor an opponent where you could foresee things getting better, or is this probably not the best week for that playing a Power 5 team?
Well, I mean,
Power 4.
It's the perfect Power 5 team to be playing in any other year for Air Force because this is the team poised for the taking. I mean, there's you just look year over year, their trajectory is going the wrong way. They've had some struggles this year. They're obviously not a great team. They had a lot of stuff going on in the off season that wasn't positive. Like, this is a team that can be beaten. It just haven't seen Air Force show that it can. And obviously, despite Baylor's struggles, it's still a roster loaded with Power 5 talent. And so it's going to, big bodies to move up front, speed in the secondary, all the things you need to combat Air Force. And so it's a rough spot. But again, any other year for Air Force, I would say, man, this is a look out Saturday. This is going to be a great game. I just haven't seen enough to think that Air Force is there just yet.
Well, we'll see if they make some strides Saturday against Baylor. 5:30 kickoff. If you want to check that game out, of course, Brent will have plenty on that and plenty on today's news at Gazette.com. Follow him on X as well, at Brent Brigham. Brent, appreciate you jumping on the show with short notice, and safe travels to Texas.
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate it.
Yep, that's Brent Brigham of the Gazette. His Kansas City Royals, 1.5 games up for the second wild card. Didn't get into that quite, though. Yeah, good stuff there from Brent. I'll get back into it at the top of the hour, this realignment stuff. I guess I'm surprised that it happened now, but I'm not surprised that it happened. Because we just had the expiration of the scheduling agreement. And it's like, I think this is going to happen. But for it to happen today, overnight, midnight, that kind of a thing, I guess, is a little bit surprising. We'll get more into that. As far as the Falcons on the field, what a time for them to potentially figure things out offensively. Because one of the staples of this program over the last few years is if they run up against a power team, they'll beat them. And it's a big source of pride for Falcon fans. So what a time for them to be able to get right offensively or figure some things out. I don't know, get right. That's how I would put it. Figure some things out offensively. I don't know. I think Brent's right. Like, you didn't see any progress from week 1 to week 2. So how can you reasonably expect growth from week 2 to week 3? In all honesty. Yeah, week 2 to week 10, I do expect to see Air Force make strides, but game 1 to game 2, same. Game 2 to game 3, how much more can there be? One thing is for sure, though, because I said this going into last week's game, surely Air Force can't keep forcing turnovers to put their offense in good enough position to score. Oh, they can't? They absolutely can. So I think that's what you bank on. That's what you hope for. Because this defense is really good and they can cause Baylor some problems. But right now, if the defense isn't handing over field position to their offense on a silver platter, they're not scoring points. But it would be a perfect time to figure out what a win that would be if they were able to get it down in Baylor, or just even if they lose, to just put on a decent show. Now you're talking about you have a bye week before you go to Laramie. I think some hope would be put back into the Air Force fan base with a good showing down there in Baylor. At Baylor, I should say. Not in Baylor. It's in Waco. 719-247-1313. You get what I'm saying. Take your thoughts, of course. There's the other college football game this weekend. That is with Colorado teams. See, now it's Big 12 versus soon to be Pac-12. Want to tell you real quick about QC Kinetics, if I can, and I say real quick, but this is important. If you're dealing with arthritic pain in your knees, hips, back, or shoulder, this is something you need to check out. It's advanced regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are experts in these amazing treatments. They have tens of thousands of satisfied patients across this country, many of them in our own backyard. And they can enhance your joints, improve mobility, and get you back to doing the stuff you love with no pain, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. It's at least worth a free consultation, is it not? 719-347-1988. 719-347-1988. QC Kinetics. Take action to get lasting joint pain relief. Now, 719-347-1988. Hello there. Welcome in. Drive Time Sports on a football Thursday. Attention football fans, it's time to report for game day at Hooters of Colorado Springs with their craveable wings, ice cold beer, plenty of big screen TVs, and the world famous Hooters girls make it the number one franchise in the league. Tonight, grab the fan filler, 10 boneless wings, fries, a dressing, and a drink for only $16.59. Get into Hooters of Colorado Springs for all the football action. Our coverage of tonight's game, courtesy of our friends at Westwood One, is coming your way at the bottom of the hour. So let's not dilly-dally any further, shall we? Hear the three stories that are driving the show. All right. Story number one, the Six Pac is born.
You know, there's going to be a lot that shakes out. I mean, that's still 24 months away. You're looking at September of 2026. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And certainly we'll be in a good spot no matter where it is. And who knows? I mean, it's it's the life of college athletics right now.
That is Air Force head coach Troy Calhoun on this morning with Jim Arthur on Colorado Springs Morning News on our sister station 740 KVOR, talking about the Pac-12 poaching Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and Colorado State to help rebuild their conference. Air Force not among those. Now, let me start with the bigger picture, and then I'll go to Air Force. The bigger picture here is this is jockeying for position. This is trying to make sure that this conference is made in your image. And this, by this conference, I mean the inevitable mega conference that will be comprised of teams from the Pac-2, Oregon State and Washington State, and the Mountain West. That's still where this is heading. Today's news does not change my thought process on that whatsoever. Because in this fight for survival in college football, the idea of having an eight-team conference is completely asinine to me. You know how easy you could be poached? You know how easy you could be no more? Right? The Pac-12 just found that out. When they were 12 teams, they found out how easy they were to be poached. You think at 8 teams, they have any better chance, especially if those 8 teams are Oregon State, Washington State, Colorado State. Like, it's not enough. They're going to have to merge. And of course the Mount West will. The one thing I'll give the Pac-12 credit on is that they have a better conference than the Mount West will. Right? San Diego State, Boise State, those are big gets. So pound for pound, I like the Pac-12 better than the Mount West. But you know what I like better than either conference? The two of them together. And I think they understand that that's their path forward here. But this is about the Pac-12 saying it's going to be under our umbrella, our name, our people. We control this. We dictate these terms, not the Mount West. Mount West thought that they could do all of that. And here's the Pac-12 saying, it's us. But I think we're still heading to the same place. The interesting thing, though, to me, is what Air Force does with this opportunity. I don't know that being in this conference is the best thing from a football perspective. You know, how often do they take the chance? They're going this weekend to Texas. Wouldn't a conference with more trips to Texas be more interesting? How about going to the conference that your service academy rivals are in? How about make Navy, Army, those games not just count for the CIC trophy, but count towards the AAC standings? And obviously there's the dream of the Big 12's like, hey, Air Force, would you like to come join us? And they really have a seat at the big boys table. There's always that. I don't know if the Pac-12 asked them to go and they said no, or the Pac-12 didn't ask them. But I think if you're Air Force, I actually like the position they're in. And I kind of see why Troy Calhoun is, you know, kind of like whatever. It'll be okay. It'll work itself out. I think Air Force can take this as an opportunity to go, obviously, for the non-revenue generating sports. They'd like to be in a regional conference. But they already travel clear across the country for hockey. I know it's a smaller roster size than football, but football probably makes more money. I'm just saying, if you're Air Force, there's no reason for you to jump ship now. Right? You're not going to be painted as greedy because, let's be honest, that's what San Diego State and Boise State are being painted as, is greedy. And CSU, anyone that's followed them locally knows that they have been obsessed with one of these power conferences forever. So they'll go wherever. Hey, if we can say that we're in a big boy conference, we're going to go. We know that's the way CSU has been thinking for years. But for Air Force, you don't get labeled as greedy. You're loyal. You stay loyal to the Mountain West. You don't look like you're having a knee-jerk reaction. And meanwhile, you sit and kind of see what comes up over the next couple of years, probably sooner rather than later, given how quickly these things move. But you can assess and be, where's the best spot for us to be? I don't know that it's in the Mountain Pac. And let's be honest, it's just going to be called the Pac-12. I think that's part of it too. This mega conference. But I think if you're Air Force, I don't think you're in a bad position. I think the Pac-12 is going to inevitably have to come back to you because I don't know what they're poaching to be able to get up to 8 teams. And I don't think even 8 teams is going to be enough. I think they're going to need more. I think they're going to come back around to Air Force. I think Air Force can afford to be a bit patient. Can't wait forever, but didn't have to bolt in the middle of the night like these other schools. Let's go to the pro ranks for story number 2. Here's Vance Joseph talking about how the Broncos defense can be better.
Stopping the run is always a must for us, and having a plan on my end to put the fire out quicker, before it gets to the point where, we're down like 2 scores. So that's a personal thing for me to help our guys just get back on track and get back to playing good football. We did it, but it was late.
That is Vance Joseph talking about that fateful third quarter where things flipped in Seattle's favor and the Broncos ultimately could not get back. And there's no doubt about it that the Seattle Seahawks said, to heck with all this stuff. We're just going to pound with Kenneth Walker the entire third quarter, regardless. Right? And to their credit, it turned the game for them. But Vance Joseph in there, and I don't know if he's a little defensive because of the way that it went the last time he was in Denver, But the fact of the matter is the Broncos defense was good for 3 of 4 quarters on Sunday, and the Broncos offense was good for none of 4 quarters. I think that the Broncos can have success defensively against Justin Fields. I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to run them out of their own building. I think the defense will hold its own just fine. My worry, if I'm a Broncos fan, is TJ Watt. And it's that Steelers defense, and wondering if Bo Nix is going to be able to do anything against that Steeler defense. I appreciate the high expectations. I appreciate Vance Joseph trying to figure out ways that the Broncos defense can be better. They did their job on Sunday. They did their job. It's time for the other side of the football, led by supposedly an offensive genius, to start showing what they can do. Not a great week to show it, but at some point they're going to have to. Here's story number 3. A record being broken in the WNBA, but not by Caitlin Clark.
Feels great because now people can stop talking about it. Felt like it was just like lingering. So I'm glad that we got it done. It's been a lot of fun. My teammates gave me a great cold water shower, but I credit it all to them.
That is A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces, who last night became the single season scoring record holder for the WNBA. And it's fitting, I suppose, that her teammates gave her a dousing of cold water, because I think the Aces also did that to Indiana and Caitlin Clark. Right, these are measuring stick games the next couple of days for Indiana, but let's be real here. Vegas has always operated at a higher plane of existence than Indiana has. I'm not talking about attention. I'm talking about how good they are, right? It's Vegas, it's New York, it's Connecticut. These are the ruling class of the WNBA. And what Indiana has been able to do is say, we're the best of the rest. That's what they are starting to show the WNBA. But they're not better than Vegas. They're not better than New York. They're not better than Connecticut. And last night you saw it. A'ja Wilson was unstoppable. Caitlin Clark was kind of stoppable. But it was a good barometer for this Fever team that's taking off to kind of see where they're at. And where they're at could be the 4th best team in the WNBA, could be the 5th best team. But they ran into the best team last night. And despite what the scoreline may tell you, 86-75, it wasn't that close. Vegas is much better. And A'ja Wilson is much better than Caitlin Clark. So we can quiet on the MVP stuff. Give Caitlin Clark the Rookie of the Year, as she has deserved for a long time now. Give A'ja Wilson the MVP, which she has deserved from like a week into the season. And let's get on with the postseason, which should be quite intriguing. But yeah, Vegas maybe threw some cold water on Indiana and their fan base to say, yeah, you're not us, but you're a fun story in your own right. You're just not. We're accomplishing some other business over here. 719-247-1313. Take your thoughts on the 3 stories that are driving the show. Coming up next, few thoughts on Buffalo, Miami, and I'll take your texts in reaction to the 3 stories that are driving the show as well. Something that I would like to alert you to for tomorrow. It is the Ronald McDonald House celebration sponsored by MGA Home Care. If you're not familiar with the work that the Ronald McDonald House does, like I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you're not aware of what they do, they've provided over 37 years of care for critically ill children and their families. And the thing about it is they don't receive a bill. It's your support that makes it happen. So tomorrow, it'd be your chance to give a gift, perhaps a recurring gift of $20 a month. If you do that, you'll be entered for a drawing to win a $500 Scheels gift card. Or if, you're just looking to make a one-time donation, there's several ways for you to do it. I will mention those more in depth tomorrow, but one easy place to go is extrasports1300.com. We have a place that you can kind of jump off to make a donation, but trying to raise awareness and raise some money for an unbelievably great organization in the Ronald McDonald House. So more on that tomorrow, but if you want to get a jump on that, extrasports1300.com. Congratulations to, I hope I'm saying this right, Zena, who won the 4 tickets to Saturday night's Switchbacks match. And what else? Oh, here is a text in regards to the jockeying for position within the college football landscape. Face it, Kaufman, Air Force isn't a Pac-2 outfit. They have little to no TV coverage, and they don't draw flies. Stick them in the MAC or something like that. I think you're certainly onto something. I mean, a little meaner probably than is necessary, but you make some valid points. Okay, if what the Pac-12 wanted was Boise State, San Diego State, right? And I'm not sure what went into Fresno and CSU being the next two, but just knowing how CSU operates, I would just say that CSU was probably begging for the Pac-12 to take them. Right? If they caught wind of it, they're like, ooh, we want to go too. Maybe Fresno was the same way. I don't think Fresno and Fort Collins, with all the due respect, are markets that the Pac-12 looks like and like, ooh, we got to get them. Ooh, we got to get these programs. Fresno and CSU? Yeah, I don't think that was their goal. So, yeah, Air Force would kind of fit in to the CSU Fresno group of these aren't really moving the needle. But again, it's strength in numbers. And that's why I think that inevitably these conferences are going to end up merging. I just don't see how either one of them are so naive and so blind to think that they can survive as an 8-team league. They will be picked apart and will be done. And you have to have 8 teams to be considered a conference. I think you make yourself way too vulnerable. And I don't know Teresa Gould. I don't. But given how mismanaged that conference has been over the years and how many ridiculously bad decisions they have made, I got to imagine that for once, the Pac-12 is measuring twice and cutting once. I think they understand that they will need more than just 2 additional teams. I think they're going to end up together. But for Air Force, not to say that Air Force is this big power player. That's not how I mean it to come off. I'm just saying when you're Air Force, for your football program, are you really in the right geographic region? Is there a better setup for you to have? Okay, they're not calling their shot. Like, they may go to AAC and say, hey, we'd love to join you. And they're like, yeah, we got Army and Navy. We don't want another service academy. It's possible. I just think this presents an opportunity for Air Force from a football perspective to kind of evaluate what geographic footprint they should be in. But there is the other side of it that they may want to go somewhere, and that somewhere says, yeah, no, we don't want you. But your point about Air Force, I would kind of apply to everybody in that conference to a degree. Here's what I mean. I know Boise State, very serious about their football. They invest. They have great facilities. I've called games in that gym that they have. They have arguably the best facilities of any school in the Mountain West Conference. They take it seriously. I like the city of Boise. It's a good spot, right? And San Diego, with Snapdragon Stadium and the work they've put in and everything. But still, Boise State is not Colorado. They are not USC. They are not UCLA. They are not Washington. They are not Oregon, nor is San Diego State an adequate substitute for any of the schools I just mentioned. That's why I think it's a pipe dream that the Pac-12 thinks they're going to retain autonomous 5 status, that they're going to get back to the big boy table. Yeah, that's over and done with. And the ACC is hanging on by a thread. There's no way they're going to go backwards and say, oh, we're going to expand it now. We're going to share more of our monies and more of our opportunity. The best that the Pac-12 or the Mountain West or the combined conference can hope for is to be the best of the rest. And whatever college football looks like moving forward, whether it's promotion and relegation, whether it's creating their own playoff that is independent of like a football NIT that's been bandied about. I don't fault the folks at the Pac-12 for trying. I'm just telling you that there's no way they're going to succeed in undoing what happened to them. They may end up getting 12 teams. None of them will be even close to as significant as what has departed them for the Big 12 and the Big 10. But everybody is in survival mode. Unless you're the Big 10 and the SEC, you are in survival mode. And there are a lot of steps that the Pac-12 has to take before they get to, that autonomous 5 status. They're just trying to survive. And this is the first step towards their survival. And we'll see how the Mount West reacts. And if they do actually end up together all along, like I told you at the beginning of the movie, Oh, they're going to end up together. I still think they will. But we'll see. Certainly interesting timing to wake up to that story today. Tonight, it is Buffalo and Miami. What has become over the last few years one of the better rivalries in the NFL. Like, I know that Buffalo's been ruling that division. I'm not saying necessarily from a competitive standpoint. I just think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting rivalry. And if I talk about an NFC East rivalry, I'm going to throw up. Like, I'm so over Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Giants, Eagles. Like, get out of here with that stuff. I'm so over it. Give me some new, interesting rivalries. And I think Miami and Buffalo is becoming one of those. Miami needs to win tonight, and they can gain nothing if they win. They can only lose tonight. Right? If they beat Buffalo, well, duh, of course. The game's in Miami. This proves nothing. If they lose, then Miami's fraudulent. Mike McDaniel's in over his skis. Tua is not a franchise quarterback. And Josh Allen is not just the MVP of the league. He is the god of the league. Buffalo has everything to gain tonight. Miami has nothing to gain. But yet, Miami must win. Should be a good one. Coverage from Westwood One beginning here shortly. One last look here at the line. Here a little less than an hour away from kickoff. You got Miami giving 2.5 tonight. Buffalo getting points, even money. Think long and hard about that one. But that's what you can get at the Circus Sports Colorado app right now. And their whole thing is that their odds are their promos. Tight money line splits, low hold models. You'll see a lot of minus 110. They try to avoid minus 115, minus 120, the best that they can, because they want you to have a great betting experience. And if they can do a little something here and there to make it the best experience possible, then they'll do that. And they invite you to shop around, see that they have the best odds, that they keep as little money as possible on the large market bets like futures. And just know that if you happen to run into any issues, real people, the same people behind Circus Sports in Vegas, is going to be there to help you when it comes to the app. Give it a try. Download the Circus Sports Colorado app today. Must be 21 years or older and present in Colorado to bet. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. It has been my pleasure to serve you. Appreciate Brent Brigham jumping on short notice to react to the story of the day. We'll see what transpires throughout the evening. I'll be back with you tomorrow at 3. Why don't you enjoy some football? Bills, Dolphins, now. Hosting the Buffalo Bills. Interesting watching as the Dolphins have tried to